Okay, this is debate of the week on NXT. Now, this has been kind of hard to do because I had to redo the shot a couple of times because it's very hard to try and understand how to wrap your head around this situation. NXT is on Wednesdays, as we know. It's going up against AEW, which I think is a dumb thing. But we're coming to Survivor Series. And easily within the last, not counting this year, the last 5 years. The last 5 years, 2013, in the last 5 years, before this Survivor Series, Smackdown has been Raw's bitch. Flat out, no questions asked. It may have won a couple of times, but SmackDown has not won. We now have SmackDown on Fox. They did $1 billion deal. We now have NXT replacing SmackDown on USA. Now here's the question. What do you think they're going to do now? What do you guys think? Give me a moment to really process this, because I've been hearing so many people so excited about Survivor Series, saying this is going to be one of the best Survivor Series ever. We now have NXT in mix. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be great. Really? Really? 5 years. From 2013 to 2018, SmackDown has been Raw's bitch. It has not won once in the last 5 years. Raw has been the supreme show. Now you got NXT. Do you actually believe, and I'm being honest here, do you believe NXT is not going to become the bitch of Raw or SmackDown? Because as far as I'm concerned, and as much as everyone is cheering about NXT is going to be great on Raw and SmackDown going into Survivor Series, it's going to be bad. I just don't see it. See, in this respect, this is what I think might happen, but I'm very confused about what's going to happen with the Universal and WWE Championship because it's still up in the air, even though it seems like it's already been sorted out that Bray Wyatt's on SmackDown, and when it comes to Brock Lesnar, he's gone back to Raw. It's still up in the air. It's very hard to say what's going to really happen. They could still switch them back. So this is still a very interpretive understanding of the situation. This is what I think may happen. When Survivor Series comes around, we may get at least 1 or 2 matches at NXT straight. And that means it's just going to be NXT wrestlers, 1 or 2 matches on the kickoff show, and that will be it for them. That will be their straight show, their own straight part, and that will be it. When you go to the main roster, I believe NXT is going to go up against Raw and SmackDown. So we're going to have an NXT wrestler against a Raw or SmackDown wrestler. That's what I see is going to happen before they have the 5-on-5-on-5 elimination match for not Raw supremacy, but brand supremacy. Essentially, that's what I see is going to possibly happen. So when it comes down to this, I see that the majority of matches going to be lost will be to NXT. NXT is going to take a big L in this situation because they're not going to let SmackDown be the bitch again. I'm sure, no, let me crank this back. Since 1993, Vince created Raw. It is his mistress. It's his wife. Honestly, if Raw was a real woman, he would have left his wife and his kids behind, and he would have married this woman, had 10 kids, and he would still be married to her today and not look back at one other woman. It is his mistress. There's no one else. SmackDown is his kid. That's the reason why he gives attention to it. That's it. Those are his children, his one child, and his wife. That's it. So do you honestly believe that you're going to let Raw be the one that's going to take the big hit? Because as it stands right now, Raw is not going to take the hit. It's got bad ratings, yes, but I just don't see Vince letting Raw be the one to take the hit. Because this is what I believe should happen. Other than what I'm about to say, this is what I believe should happen. At the kickoff show, you can have a NXT match and you have a SmackDown match. That would be the best thing to do. Let people get their wet their whistles on, that's an old saying, I don't know why I said that. But let NXT and SmackDown be the majority of the show, not just the kickoff show, but the main card. You're trying to get SmackDown and NXT, two shows that are supposed to be doing something important. NXT going up against AEW and SmackDown working on Fox. Raw can take a little bit of a backseat. Let 80% of NXT and SmackDown be the main card of the show, and then Raw be the remaining 20%. You can even cut it to 10. That would be the wisest thing to do, honestly. And then and this is the way it would work. You would have Raw and how can I say this? Raw should be one of the first matches of the show. SmackDown and NXT would do the kickoff. Let Raw do just one match on the show, generally, before they do the entire 5-on-5-on-5 supremacy match, which is the elimination match for the tag. Just have Raw one match, then the rest will be NXT and SmackDown. Let Raw go at the wayside. Let it only have one, maybe two matches. But generally just one match should be enough. Let it be the opening. And let SmackDown and NXT do the predominant lifting for the show. And you go back and forth between Raw and SmackDown. Not Raw and SmackDown, sorry. NXT and SmackDown. I'm thinking about Raw because it's going to be hard to explain the other part. The part of how Raw is actually going to be the dominant one where NXT is going to be sacrificed. But I'm trying this one first, so bear with me. You're going to have SmackDown. I say it's going to be tied with NXT. Up until elimination tag match. Where they're going to see who is the supreme and overwhelming champion of the three brands. And the one that should win should be SmackDown because it is on Fox. Second would be NXT. In other words, you get rid of Raw immediately. All the Raw stars get beaten clean. And then it's just left to NXT and SmackDown in the 5-on-5 part. That's left over from the 15-part elimination match. Because it's going to be 5-on-5-on-5, if I'm right, elimination match for brand supremacy. So leave it between NXT and SmackDown, and then SmackDown squeaks a slight win. And it'll make NXT look great, it'll make SmackDown look great, and yes, Raw has to take the hit, it's got to take the L, but that would be the wisest thing to do if we were with a sane and benevolent owner of WWE, but we're not. So this is what I believe will happen, ladies and gentlemen. That was a theory of what should happen. This is what I believe will happen. Opening up the kickoff will be an NXT match, will be a straight match with just two NXT stars, either women or guys, doesn't matter. Maybe the rest will be filled in with maybe one SmackDown match on the kickoff. For the rest of the show, you're going to have a mix between NXT going up against SmackDown or NXT going up against Raw. And in all cases, SmackDown is going to win, Raw is going to win, and NXT is going to take the L. It is going to happen. Of course, it's going to be maybe one match they're going to win. They got to win at least one match to make them look good. But when it comes to the 5-on-5-on-5 elimination, I just see it like this. NXT is going to get wiped out clean in the very beginning, the opening of that situation. It's just going to get wiped out. Then it's going to be SmackDown versus Raw, and then Raw is going to be running supreme. I'm hoping this doesn't happen, but let's be honest here. As I said in the beginning of this review, well, not review, I accept review. It irks me to think that Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the guy who created Raw, who created SmackDown, who created this brand that made it international, and is still lasting since the day I was, well, not the day I was born, but in the mid-70s when I was just a little kid, has lost so much of his understanding of what the landscape is that he will sacrifice NXT, which is the brand that seems to have the best function. Doesn't mean it's got that total fan base, but it has the proper function that people really want. He's going to possibly sacrifice some of SmackDown's own clout because he just can't bring himself to destroying Raw which would be the wisest thing to do. Yes, Raw is at its lowest, but you just move NXT to USA and you got it up against another promotion. Then you have Smackdown that just moved to Fox, $1 billion beat. It angers me to think that that's $1 billion. I would love a tenth of that. And they're just giving us a bad product. If it wasn't for NXT going on Friday, SmackDown would have sucked. So let's be honest here. Do you believe that NXT is going to get the lion's share of what's going to happen on Survivor Series? Because as I see it, in every reviewer I've been hearing, the Lex Man is so excited about Survivor Series. JD NYC 206, he's usually surprised and excited. And I believe in Wrestling Inc. podcast with Matt Morgan, I think they're enthusiastic about it as well. I'm not enthusiastic about this Survivor Series because as far as I'm concerned about this, Survivor Series is going to be a bloodbath for NXT because there is no way they're going to let NXT succeed here. Unless Vince fully understands that NXT and SmackDown should be the emphasis. In fact, SmackDown should be the emphasis, NXT should be second, and Raw should be put to the way. He should just push Raw aside, put away his ego, and focus on SmackDown and NXT. Because those are the ones that mean the most. They are. I just don't see it. But this is just my point of view. You guys tell me below. Have a good day. Have a good night. And I think, I hadn't had a chance to look at NWA Power. I was wanting to see it, but there was something that had to be done. So I'm hoping maybe I could see it this weekend before Full Gear. And I would do maybe an overview of it. Have a good day. Have a good night. Peace.